Top Deck Heroes does it again, guys, bringing us another exciting fight for today between the new High Dog deck as well as new support for Almajestar, as we'll be doing a card fight reaction to their battle and giving additional commentaries. We're going to take a look at the deck, analyze it, and I'm going to give my thoughts and opinions towards the end of this video. What is up, card fighters, and welcome back to the Prime Vanguard channel. I hope you guys have been doing very well. I hope you guys have been enjoying the series as well as watching the Cardfight Vanguard Deluxe anime with me and enjoying as much as I have. You can check out my reaction to these in the comment section below as well as the link in the description below as well to get an idea where we're at with the anime. We are now at episode 3 this week. It was a very exciting episode to watch as Bosarga just came out with her new support, Griffogilia got new support, and it was a fantastic fight to get everything ready for the next upcoming episodes. Stay tuned with that as well as stay up to date with the channel. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe, or hit that notification bell so you guys are always getting my newest videos coming out. There's been a lot of new content and a lot of new stuff coming out, and I have a lot of plans for the remainder of this month. January has been huge for the Prime Vanguard channel as we've been popping out 2 to 3 videos per week, and I'm going to keep this gravy train going. With all of that being said, let's finally go ahead and get into this reaction. We're going to watch the card fight first. I did speed up a little bit so that this way we're not here for as long as the fight was, and then we're going to talk about their decks and I'm going to give my thoughts and opinions on it towards the end of this video. Without further ado, let's finally get into this. Alright, you guys, so the card fight is starting. The Almajestar player is going first. Going first in Almajestar is really great. It gives the chance to set up for Bico and start pressuring with crits, drives, powered up rear guards, and get a really good setup going. He drops Plutonic here. I'm going to assume he has another one because obviously you need one. It's a really powerful card for next turn. Person playing Houndrazer goes next. He gets a set up with a grade 1, start drawing. Hopefully he has some pieces to start rushing with or something he can care about that he doesn't care about, but unfortunately not, so we're just going to swing at the Vanguard. Go ahead, he's going to let it through. No guard. We get Persona for later on in the game, which is fine. We lose out on Bifrost, but we have a copy of Bifrost in hand, it seems, so we're able to call out later. We then go ahead and ride. Sparta's effect kicks in, Soul Charge, no draw. We then Energy Charge 3 because we are going first, but then we get Bifrost from our hand onto the rearguard circle. This is really huge because we can go ahead and use the effect to start setting up our Soul, adding to our hand, as well as using the ability to get some units onto the board as well. This gives the Almajestar player the chance to actually push some early game aggression prior to going to Almajestar Bico, or my bad, the new Almajestar, whatever it's called, I don't know its name just yet, I'll talk about it when I see it, and go ahead and set up for that. Now we're calling something out from the Bifront's ability. I would just call it Energy Girl out because there's no point to call Cat. It'd be kind of ineffective, but Energy Girl comes in here. I think he can Energy Charge from that. Yeah, he had Energy Blast 3. But he's going for the rush, double Plutonic, double Energy Girl. This is a really nice setup that we got going on here. A lot of card advantage that we're about to get. So the first Plutonic goes off. We are going to go ahead and check the top 7 cards of our deck. Unfortunately, we whiff here, but we have the Energy Girl to make up for the card that we lost. Then we'll go ahead and swing with the Vanguard. This is 18. Everything is going to be a magic number here, so I'm going to assume this deck version plays front because his Vanguard is swinging first, but I mean, he would swing first anyway. But the second Plutonic is going off here, and then we're going to attack. So the Hound player is now at 3 damage at grade 1, which is not good at all for this deck because the Vanguard can get crit and drive, and I think the player should be aware of that. Also, his hand is back to full power because he used both Plutonics and both Energy Girls, and he has the potential to get them back later. Hound player goes off. We're going to go ahead and see the effect of the grade 1 now is Zumi. His ability is going to kick in. It's going to let you go ahead and check the top 7 cards of your deck for a high beast and call it to rearguard circle. We get the grade 1 shield dog. Doesn't do anything right now, but we have it. Then we have Mishiro come in. She has a top 7 check for a high beast. So we're building up our board here so we can start pressuring against our opponent. Unfortunately with Mishiro it seems, but he has the double Saragon play coming out right now. Saragon will be at max power, and he drops the order called Warrior's Rest. I did not see that coming. Make a long story short, it's Energy Blast 2, give 2 units plus 10k, and he gets to draw a card because he had 5 units. Swings with the Vanguard first, no trigger, but we do get Seishin, which offers the intercept effect from the back row, which is a big deal for next turn. Saragon swings. Our rearguard should be huge. Saragon's going to pop off. We're going to check top 2 right now, and then see what we can get. He adds something to his hand, bot deck something, I'm going to assume it's normal unit, then a trigger, and then swings the Mishiro. So Mishiro should be match number 2. So pretty much both players now evenly matched, 3 damage each on each side. I do think that the Bico player or the Almajestar player is going to be in a better spot because we have the energy for the grade 1 Bifront's effect. We have all of our setup now. We've got 2 crits in there. I think we have a copy of Bifront's in there, and we have the energy as well as the CB to use the grade 1 Bifront's ability again. We have Turon and Sparta coming out to rearguard circle on opposite sides. Perfectly fine. Hopefully he has another piece to put on board. I think that with the player being at 3 damage, the Almajestar player really needs to emphasize on pushing right now. Hopefully with all those cards that he drew and all those cards he had to his hand, he can do that. We're putting another copy of Bico here, but he really needs to focus on pushing and putting as much player on that Hound player as he possibly can. The Vanguard is going to get a crit, a drive, as well as give 5k power to your front row this turn, so your numbers should be in a really good spot. Turon's going to become a magic number herself against the Grade 2, forcing a 10k block. The Mashiro won't be enough, and he doesn't have access to that dog effect without the Seishin. There's no booster behind the Turon, which is unfortunate, because with the 5k benefit, a booster would have been really great here, but unfortunately he doesn't have anything to call, it seems. Alright, we're going ahead and do the numbers and calculations right now. 5k to front row, +1 crit to Vanguard, +1 drive, like I said. The Vanguard's going to be should be swinging like 26-20 crit triple drive. First check is a heal trigger. This is huge for the Almajestar player. He'll be able to give 10k power. I would give it to Turon here because Sparta has the booster, but he's going to go ahead and give it to the Sparta. That's fine. Next up, we get a Blitz order. I think it's the Regalis one and a normal unit, so we've got a really good defensive hand here. On top of the triple drive and the heal, we are now in a fantastic spot. Sparta is going to have the boost from the Energy Girl, so this is going to be, I think, 16 plus 5, 21, 31 to the Vanguard, and then Turon will be swinging if they didn't hit a defensive. But it doesn't seem like they did. However, the Hound player is able to keep himself at 4 damage. The Grade 2's effect will go in now as we finally get to see the new Hound Girl come into play. Hakuren's ability, he gets to pretty much check top 7, get a Houndrazer card in his hand. If he whips, he calls it to Rearguard Circle. He whips, so he's going to call it to Rearguard Circle and Soul Charge, setting up for a Vanguard's effect. Let's see what else he's going to do. He calls out the Mashiro here instead of using the Vanguard's ability to compress his deck from the High Beast before using the Mashiro, but he does luckily find something off of Mashiro, which is going to be the Guard Dog, which I think is pretty cool. Then he's going to use Aoi's effect. At this point, I'm not entirely sure what to go for. He's going to go for Saragon here because he wants some more card advantage to compress his deck some more, which is perfectly fine. The Vanguard's effect also gives 5k to all of his dogs in the back row, and that Saragon has a drive check on it. Unfortunately, there are no Grade 3 High Dog Beast, so that Saragon is just going to be 1 drive check. So we're going to have pretty much essentially this turn triple drive and 4 attacks, which isn't bad. This is going to be, I think, like 18 to 28. Heal trigger goes off, and that procs, but he doesn't give it to the dog, which should have been able to hit. Okay, so he swings with this. He does hit the draw trigger, which is really good. We got 2 defensive triggers going off, and Seishin in hand. Saragon's also going to pop off this turn. He didn't call the Seishin that he already has in his hand to Rearguard Circle to make those defensive dogs actually relevant. That's perfectly fine. I mean, he's using his Rearguard's effect to recycle and just hit his opponent. Mishiro's going to go ahead and swing, so this number should be like 33 at the opponent, which is really good. And then the other one's going to go off too. But I think he knocked out his Rearguards, and the Almajestar player only went up 1 damage. Hakuren's ability is going to proc off here, and then that will go ahead and trigger, putting back the Saragon because he already burned through 3 copies, which makes perfect sense to me, and that's a pretty good turn so far. So pretty good comeback. The Houndrazer player got his hand up, the Almajestar player has 1 CB, so everybody has enough damage to do what it is that they want to do and maintain their resources as well. So Bicostellar is already set up. Thanks to the ability, you can Persona Ride from the bind zone, so he has that set up for himself. So Persona Ride is live, which means the Houndrazer player is going to be in a bit of a tough spot. You can't use those back row dogs to protect you, and we do have the Bifron still in play to continue to set up our soul for Almajestars, continue to compress our deck, continue to get Rearguards from the drop zone onto the board. Such an incredibly powerful card. Griffith's Chimera comes in. This is the deck stacker for Almajestar. If you guys haven't already seen it or haven't played against the deck in a minute, he's going to stack the deck, give it 5k, and it's a huge upgrade from Twin Marvel. I mean, both cards are still really good, but in this deck, I think Griffith Chimera is better. He drops the Steinborg Chimera. This is the one that gains critical and power. He also gets to set things up from the drop zone. So this turn is going to be very scary because his Vanguard and his Rearguard, if properly set up, should have criticals on each. I believe the Chimera requires 3 or 4 criticals in the bind zone, so hopefully the Almajestar player does have the crits in there with the effects of the ability to move his soul. We take a damage here, a Warrior's Rest, which is very concerning because now both the Vanguard is going to have a critical on it. This will demand a perfect guard or at least high amounts of shield value. He gets 3 Almajestars in there, so we should be at the 5 effect for it. And unfortunately, we do lose Mashiro, which makes perfect sense here because, it's one of the, you have to get rid of as much shield as possible because you want to make sure other attacks are relevant. We've got a 15k boost to the front row from the Almajestar effect as well as the Persona Ride. Crit comes down here. Now this is really scary because it goes to the Chimera. And then we have another crit come down. So now both attacks on the left and right are lethal. These will demand shield. It's going to be very tough. It's a lot of power from both of these cards. They're both magic numbers right now, outside of their own effects and the boost. Topaz comes in. This is great because we burn through our ride deck. We can go ahead and get some additional shield, and we got the draw triggers from earlier, which is a pretty good defense. And then we have the heal trigger, which has the ability to gain additional 15k shield if we restand a unit, and that's what a lot of decks are doing right now. Really good choice in terms of defensive right now, in my personal opinion, but we're going to see how more impactful it's going to be later and what the dog player will do. So, energy charge, you know, we're at the grade 3 now. We've got Saragon on board after using our effects. Drop double Scythian. This is huge because both those Scythians are going to gain critical. He should have enough energy for this, or no, he's at 1 energy. That's what his thing says. The Warrior's Rest gave 10k, let him draw a card. Vanguard's effect is live, so that Saragon is scary again. I wish he had the other dog because the Saragon number is just too low right now. You need power. You need to try to like win because you're in survival mode right now. But he got crit, which is really huge. Again, he's applying all of the effects onto the power to Saragon, critical to Vanguard. So now the Vanguard's going to swing, and this Vanguard's attack is actually scary because that's the crit. But with all these triple drives, we have a PG to stop that Almajestar side. Okay, another critical. This is huge. Going to the Scythian, the grade 3 in the front row. The grade 3 also has the power to get a critical, so this attack is going to be triple crit, which means that the Almajestar player will be starred for damage. Because they'll have to block this, and then yep, there it is, the Scythian effect. They have to block this, and then if he chooses to swing at the rear guard, the other one, I don't think Bico will have its effect. But he drops OT to block it, so therefore he doesn't have to deal with that. But at least we know that OT is out the way. He goes in and he's attacking again. He doesn't have enough energy for the critical gain, so that is very, very unfortunate. But like I said, no counterblast to work with on the Almajestar player side. But we do have Persona Ride because of the ability that is naturally inherent. We also have, if we have any generic skills in hand, like this one right here, the Arcteri Chimera, we are still in a really good spot. One of the newer cards for the deck, I'm kind of iffy about if I want to play in mine personally, but it's a strong card. It lets you take cards from hand to solo draw a card, gives you some extra shield and defensive power in the deck. I think the deck is very offensive right now. The ride line is strong. Guaranteed Persona Ride every single turn is strong with Bifrost setup. So if you want to play extra defensive cards, it might be a good pick to have. The Amethyst comes in after using the effect of one of the cards. Amethyst is going ahead and give us a counter charge. So our turn is live again, but we only have 1 damage to work with. And that's clearly going to have to go to our Vanguard. So if defended properly, the dog player hopefully can make it off this turn. But we are getting closer and closer to that 4 bind critical. And I don't think we are there just yet. Are we? No, we're not. Excuse me. So the Vanguard attacks. The Scythian is gone. But we still have the other ones, so we still have the dogs for defense. He guards with the over trigger, so his defense is solid. OT is not coming through. Heal trigger comes down, but unfortunately, the Almajestar player is at a lower state of damage, so the heal trigger isn't effective outside of giving power. If this were me, I personally would just like continuously pressure the Vanguard. I think the Houndrazer player was pretty smart for denying damage the prior turn, knowing what Bico can do with additional damage. So far, both players have been doing a wonderful job at showcasing these decks. I want to emphasize that very clearly right now. This has been a wonderful card fight to watch. The Twin Cast comes down to go ahead and protect the player, and then Scythian's ability kicks in, and both dogs have defensive effects actually to give them 5k shield, so we should have more than enough shield to protect ourselves for this turn. One thing I want to add also about the dog deck that I've noticed is the fact that this deck actually has really good recovery in terms of building a board back. The ability of Scythian with the defensives from the back row, the Warrior's Rest card drawing us cards, giving power to our rear guards, it's all working out very, very well. The only thing about the dog player is that eventually they're going to have to get to a point where they're going to need something, or they're going to have to keep pushing, because that Almajestar's player's hand is just getting bigger and bigger every single turn. And now that we know that they play the Wolf in the deck, they have a bunch of defensive options. Nothing comes through for the Saragon drive check. Hopefully the Vanguard attack's been more relevant, but we'll see what happens. I think that we burned through like a couple, like 4 crits on the Keter player side. So let's see what happens. We know the OTs are out, which is really good. He's guarding here with double crit, so he should have it for next turn. We got another critical here. Once again, everything goes to Scythian, and Scythian's going to be really huge. Scythian's going to have enough energy for his own critical gain. which is going to be very scary. And then the player is going to naturally have to stop this because if this attack hits, it's over. Saragon pops off, guards with the front trigger, which is pretty good because it gets extra power, and then guards Energy Girl and crits. So on the next turn, we should have enough criticals to get that 4 critical amount for our other Chimera's effect. But however, we are still not giving the Almajestar player damage, and something I just noticed that he did right now is the fact that our deck is very, very low on both ends. That is not good on both sides, so we'll see where this comes out to. This might be the last chance for the dog player to make an impact because I did not realize how fast they were burning through their deck. Oh my goodness. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning, you guys. I'm sorry. Almajestar comes in, all of its effects are live. He guards a double crit again. So first check, we got a front trigger that is huge, but there's no booster behind that Amethyst, that's scary. And the Almajestar player is also low deck. Okay, so this is a scary matchup right now. This is just going to come out to deck out because both decks are doing a fantastic job at gaining defensive resources as well as being offensively strong enough. However, I do think that the Keter player is now at his limit and he's going to have to commit everything that he can with only, looks like, 5 or 6 cards left in deck. So at this point, I would just count for criticals and I would just go ahead and start blocking everything. Probably next turn I don't even want to use the Almajestar effect because at this point he's going to twin drive and we know that he plays draw triggers. I don't know if we've seen all 3 in the deck, so that would be something funny to think about. There's also a triple drive on the Keter side and he's going to want to take advantage of that, so that's coming in right now. The hand size is very low. If the Almajestar player survives this and has enough cards in deck to do their shenanigans, I think that they can potentially pull off a win. But a heal trigger comes through for the Keter player, and he gets that power to his rear guards. The PG already stopped that. So yeah, pretty much as long as we can stop this, we should be fine. Let's see here. Can he? He has the front trigger for it, so that stops the Scission with the critical. And then this attack is coming in with the, and then he has the shield for that as well. So the Almajestar player will be draw a card. He's going to Persona Ride and draw again. 3 cards left in deck. So this is pretty much it. This is the last chance. He's been forgetting to do his energy as well. I just realized that. Pretty much the last chance to do anything. He's got additional 10k to his front row. I guess the only thing that sucks here is the fact that the Scission is still here and he can do that and he can't use any of his skills. But we already know the dog player's hand because of everything we've seen so far. So this goes ahead and attacks. So hopefully he can break through because he only has 1 card left in deck. That's 28. Is the Bifron's enough? It is not. So that is going to be... What an incredible card fight between both players for showcasing these decks. Top Deck Heroes once again does a fantastic job at showcasing, giving ideas on how the decks can be built and moving forward. Now that we've seen the card fight and we have concluded its winner to be Houndrazer, let's go ahead and analyze both decks that were used for this match and we can go ahead and get a discussion going about these. Alright you guys, so this is the Keter Sanctuary Houndrazer deck profile that we're going to be reviewing for this matchup today. And I have to say, I think this list is pretty standard right now. It pretty much plays a playset of all the brand new High Beast and Houndrazer stuff as you're supposed to be playing because it's an archetype based deck that relies on the High Beast, and it's pretty straightforward, very simple. The grade 3 you have to max out. You require the defensive skill to be used from your other grade 1 Houndrazer, the dog in the back, the one that gave 5k shield, so you want that. This is also the only Houndrazer card that we have that is a searchable critical unit to be chosen with. Therefore, it's very important to our offense. The Mashiro, the grade 2, another key piece, searches out High Beast. Also, it's a grade 2 card, so we can use it to rush in the early game. Just due to typical Keter Sanctuary shenanigans. It's also one of our beat stick pieces, combined with the boost of our grade 3 Vanguard that gives 5k to our back row High Beast, seeing that they're all grade 1s. This card, combined with the Vanguard's effect and our High Beast, will make magic numbers. So naturally, you play 4 of her. The 4 copies of the Melgon, this is the green dog right here. It's the one that you're supposed to play in the back row behind the Vanguard to get maximized power for your offense besides the other grade 1 dog here. This is your resource management High Beast though. You get soul charge or energy charge from this one when placed in your Vanguard's Houndrazer. Therefore, you have ways of managing those resources depending on what you choose to play in the deck. And then we have the Daigon. This is the one that we use for the additional shield as well as another option for our back row targets for our effect. Naturally, you're playing 4 copies of Sargon in this this deck. I understand it's a very, very expensive card, but we are trying to play this deck at its maximum capacity, and you will need a playset of this card. There's unfortunately no way around it. There's not a lot of good high beast targets, unfortunately, for Keter Sanctuary, except Showdown and the cards that were present with this archetype, until we get more support later. 2 copies of the Topaz. This makes sense to me. It's a high beast unit that is, you can call it its rearguard circle if you call it in the main phase. It gives you more superior calling, more compression, more ways of getting units onto the board in case you're playing a heavy control matchup, or if you need more pieces onto the board because your hand is bad. It's a great out. That's also a great defensive piece as well. And then for his trigger lineup, it's very standard. 4 heals, 8 crit, 3 draw, and he's playing the blue OT. I'm gonna talk about the blue OT in a minute, but the one card that's like really the most outstanding to me in this one is the Order of Warrior's Rest. I was not thinking about this card until I saw it in this deck, and then I saw how operating this deck, and I think it is a fantastic tech for the deck. I think it's very interesting. I think it's very cool. A Warrior's Rest, you can drop it in the early game, then you can go ahead and combine that with the power abilities of your cards. You get to draw cards and give power to those units, make good numbers. Fantastic, right? And then the Regalia's piece, which is Twin Cast. Here's my thing about Twin Cast. I don't feel like this deck needs Twin Cast. I feel like based off what I've seen after watching this match, I'm going to go ahead and give my actual opinion now. I feel like Bracing Angel Ladder would be better for this deck than our Twin Cast will be. And the reason why I say this is because depending on what the meta is going to look like in the future, naturally Control may or may not be more relevant, but I see this deck having a hard time playing its Control despite all the Spirit Calling, despite everything that you can do. That doesn't mean you want to deal with it. Just because the deck can build itself back up doesn't mean you want to deal with something. Bracing Angel Ladder I think would be like the second best option outside of the Twin Cast. Twin Cast is great, but to me Twin Cast feels like you play it when you don't know what else to play, if that makes sense, right? Like, it's just the go-to. It's one of the best defensive pieces in the game that you can play, and it's a fantastically strong card, don't get me wrong, but I think Bracing Angel Ladder not only does it give soul and draw, but it protects the rear guards that you cannot build back up. You cannot build your grade 2 Houndrazer or your grade 3 Houndrazer card outside of the dogs. So that's just something to think about. Bracing Angel Ladder might be a great option. For a place of the Warrior's Rest, if you don't want to play that order, I mean, it's perfectly fine if you choose not to. I feel like with this deck, based off of everything I've seen, because the Warrior's Rest isn't searchable, so keep that in mind. It depends on the triggers, because he's playing draws, and the draws definitely came up. Like I said, he was in that situation where he took all that damage in the early game. You want heals and draws to get yourself back in a good position. So it's kind of tricky. Me personally, with the nature of this deck and how these cards work, and the fact that they have really good like continuous effects that will last you later on, or auto effects that happen when they're still on the board compared to like everything else when it's on place or something outside of like the Melgon and the Mashiro, I think you might be able to get away with fronts. I'm not entirely sure. I feel like the safe option would be to play front triggers and obviously the cycler to make up for the lack of the draw that you now have because of that. That's one option you can go. The deck has really great draw power and you have triple driver return, so your chances naturally of seeing Persona Ride is incredibly high. The grade 1 Persona Ride card might be fantastic. I just feel like you need something to help maintain power later on. But this deck will make consistent numbers and do pretty good. Now, taking a look at Almajestar. So Almajestar is a deck that I featured on this channel twice now. I am very personally familiar with the deck. And looking at this list here for this card fight, honestly, this list is, like, most of it's pretty standard. Like, the core cards are here. Naturally, 4 copies of the new Almajestar. He's playing 2 copies of the old Almajestars because he needs targets to go ahead and loop out his grade 3 Vanguard's ability to continue Persona Ride. You have maxed out copies of the Bifrons, 3 Protector, which is perfectly fine. 2 copies of Almathis because you want some form of counter charge in the deck because you're not playing the Almajestar order, which makes, that's perfectly fine. You're not obligated to, but in this deck, and the new deck is a little bit more consistent, so that's something to think about. You have the Critical Griffin at 3, which is perfectly fine. You're maxing out the Energy Girl. That also works. Yeah, this list is pretty standard. 8 crits, 4 heal, 3 front, been the same forever. The blue OT for additional critical pressure and get a card back to your hand. Again, there's Twin Cast in here, and this one I don't mind Twin Cast. I mean, Radiance Caliburn I think would have been another route to go if you were having like resource issues, but Twin Cast is fine here, and especially in a deck like this. If you soul charge, you can soul blast it out and then go ahead and still get some value out of it, unless like you had a regular Regalia's piece in there. That works for this deck. The grade 3 Chimera cards, perfectly fine. I mean, it's a defensive piece that goes ahead and lets you cycle out from your hand. So you have cycle out from hand, drop, and deck. Yeah, this deck pretty much has everything it needs to, you know, be consistently good. In terms of ratios, I couldn't give like an idea of that, but everything seemed to work out pretty fine. It just seems that he decked out. He pushed really hard in the early game. He used those prospectors, the grade 1 unit, to continuously compress his deck. Energy Girl let him draw more cards because of his Vanguard's effect. And yeah, that pretty much was it. I'm not so sure how I feel about Energy Girl anymore though. I feel like she's a great card, but because the deck has so much compression now and you do still Soul Charge off from your other abilities, he did burn through his deck much faster than I thought he did. The triple driving, the compression from the Bifrons, the superior calling, the soul charging, the stacking and drawing, it's a lot. It's a lot. It really is. So Energy Girl, she's kind of iffy for me because you're making a space for a lot of these grade 1 cards that have a variety of things to do. I like the grade 1 Witch. I mean, she's cool. It's a cute tech when you want to maximize your calmest power with your restand. That's perfectly fine. But outside of all of that, yeah, this is a pretty standard Almajestar list for the new support. I mean, ratios and stuff like that, that's all personal choice at this point. But it's a pretty solid list. I like this so far. And that concludes my reaction to Top Deck Heroes is Almajestar versus Houndrazer card fight. Guys, tell me what you guys think about these decks in the comment section below, and if there's anything else you want to add to the discussion about these decks, especially Houndrazer. You know, there's a lot of hype surrounding this deck. A lot of people are very happy to see, you know, a dog deck being made. I know a lot of people are bringing up the original Akane from like Season 1 or the Season 2 era of the original Cardfight Vanguard series, and Garmor, and just bringing up the value of High Beast within the Keter Sanctuary Nation itself. It is unfortunate that after about 3 years of playing this game, that there's not a lot of like good generic High Beast cards. They're either all, the good ones are either archetype locked or they just have like mediocre effects for the deck, and we obviously want to play the strongest cards, right? And unfortunately the strongest card for this deck is about like 25 bucks or 25, 30 bucks at the time I'm making this video. So tell me some of your guys' opinions on Saragaion, and can you play the Houndrazer deck without it? How can you move forward without it? And let's get a discussion going. With that being said, I am your host Prime Vanguard, and I will catch y'all later. Peace.